It's that time of year again where we look at the entire line of Bionicle in this year's, particularly 2007. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Road to Matorin channel. And today we are looking at all of 2007 because now we finally made it to the end of 2007, reviewed all the sets, and now I'm here to give my overview and my final thoughts on the entire wave. But before we get into the sets, I want to discuss the story a little bit. So the 2007 story starts right after the end of 2006. The Mask of Life had the Toyoneka lost the mask. It fell down into the depths to Mari Nui because it sensed danger, so it went down there, and they followed along with it. And them being transformed into the Toamari, water-breathing Toas and stuff, because the Mask of Life knew that they couldn't breathe underwater, of course. And they get into a conflict with the Baraki, the six warlords of the League of Six Kingdoms, I think. I don't know the full title, but something like that. And obviously they're after the Mask of Life as well. So there's a few Matorins, of course, in the story. There's one named Dakar. He gets transformed into Hydraxon, the former pit jailer that's long since dead. They fought a enlarged Gadunka Rahi creature, and they meet up with Makuta, actually, because Makuta actually does show up in this story. But the long short and sweet of it is basically that they fight for the Mask of Life, and they realize they have to destroy the stone cord that's holding up Voyanui, and they have to destroy that. And Matoru sacrifices himself and puts on the Mask of Life and saving the day, even though that's all Makuta wanted to happen in the first place. He wanted him to save Matanui, but why? More on that on the next year overview of Bionicle, which is 2008, which I'll be reviewing. So, okay, now that is now out of the way. Now we can get into the sets. There are a grand total of 22 sets. Now, that's not talking about individual characters here and vehicles and stuff, but that's just the individual sets. And that's not including polybags either, because I'm not reviewing polybags like Good Guy '07 or Bad Guy '07. We're not doing that. That's not what we do here. So I'm just doing the basic sets that are actually canonical to the story and not whatever those things are. So 22 sets. I will talk about the price of how much this cost me, but I'll do that at the end of the video because that's just how I do things. So I would like to just discuss the characters, not like character stories, but just the sets and just how I feel about them. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with the smallest wave of sets, which is the Matorin and the Hyuga, because they're the same price, and I'm just gonna lump them all in. And I know some of them are not a part of this wave technically because you cannot buy them individually, which is, I'm talking about Idris and Sardra here. So I'm only including them here because obviously they're Matorins as well, but they are not obviously cheap sets to get. Even alone, they're not even cheap. But regardless of that, I'm going to include them here. And I like the Matorin designs. Now, these are not my favorite. I think I'm still going to always have a soft spot for the like '04 style Matorins because I just really like the chest armor and just the way they're built. I really do. But these are not bad. These are good. I really do like it because they actually have probably the most mobility out of all the Matorins we've gotten so far because they actually have a lot of articulation. I think it's probably about the same. Well, not quite, because they actually do have head/neck articulation. Some of them are slightly hindered with Idris here and Sardra because they have the tubes behind them, but they can move their heads and necks kind of like how the other Matorin, the other two can. But so they do have articulation, but because '04 they weren't really as articulate, at least with the heads or even the shoulders. But still, I really like the designs. They're really good. And as for the Hyuga, I don't really care for these at all, and they're just kind of whatever. They're kind of like throwaway sets for me. And obviously, none of these Matorin have the new launches of the year, which we'll discuss in a little bit. They're using the '06 launcher, which was the Zamor Sphere launcher, which I still think they're like the best launchers of Bionicle because they're just very effective. Now the build or how they work, it's pretty simple. You just press the little thing in the back and it shoots, but they don't stay up very well. But that's kind of what you expect with these. So I already discussed that in the '06 review. So if you want to get my full thoughts on that, go check that out. But I like the Matorin. I kind of like the Hyuga, but the Matorin are obviously the more sought after sets. The Hyuga are kind of like throwaway sets. And next up, we have the Baraki, the League of Six Kingdoms. I believe that's how you say it or how it goes. But regardless, we have the six warlords, the Baraki, and this is the first time that we've seen unique, different sets. Like all of these sets are uniquely different. They are. It's really cool because they're based on different like aquatic like creatures that you can probably see, and we never seen anything like this in Bionicle because a lot of the years prior, the villains look pretty much identical. The Rakshi, the Borak, the Paraka, the Visorak, they all look pretty much identical in every possible way except for color swap. But these guys are incredibly unique and different that you do not get one and then you just have all the sets. No, if you want the full collection, yeah, you're gonna have to buy them all. Or if you don't really care about that, then you can probably just buy one that really, catches your eye. So again, that's what makes it cool though, because you don't get one and then, oh well, I have them all, so there's no point of bothering getting them all. It's kind of like now you have to actively think, hey, which one do I want to actually pick up because they're actually uniquely different. It makes it feel worth collecting. I do like that a lot. Now, some of them are a little lackluster. I don't really like as much, but because not all of them are going to be a heavy hitter. They're not. It's just the way it is. And also, some of them do have a bit of a joint problem. This is the year to really introduce the joints problem, especially particularly with the lime green. Now, 2008 and so on, it's going to be all the joints. But for 2007, it's the lime green. The lime green are really brittle, and it's extremely frustrating to deal with, and you can't even mess with them too much because it will crack and break. Now, despite that, some of the sets with the lime green actually was okay in my experience so far. I didn't have it for long, but they are not too bad. But some of them, yeah. But regardless of that, I do like all the designs of the Baraki, most of them. Some of them are okay, but I don't completely hate it. I just don't like it as much, say, as some of the other ones. But they're really good. They obviously introduced something new, a lot of new molds and recolors of pieces, and it's all in the better of just having a lot of unique pieces. Because again, if you're a Mockist and you like the Mock, then you are having a gold mine here of just crazy unique parts that you have for that. But I'm not much of a Mocker. I want to be, but that's besides the point. They're really good. So I think that, yeah, the Baraki are awesome. I really do like them. On the complete opposite side, the good guys here, the Toa, Mari, and also this is the first time that all the good guy characters, they're Toas basically, actually look uniquely different. There are definitely a lot of similarities in the builds of previous years though, because, well, because they still have, a lot of them have the typical Anika build, because that's now been introduced, because ever since the Toa Anika, they kind of just stuck with the Anika build or Paraka build. Some of them have the Paraka build, and I personally don't mind that. I don't think I made this a very like strong point, but for me personally, I don't mind the Paraka and Anika build because I personally prefer them as kind of like action figures. I wasn't really crazy about the gear functions anyway. So, of course, this year also don't have any gear functions because they completely got rid of that, and I don't mind it. It was a cool thing for what it was, but I just don't think it was like the absolute most important thing to have in the set. I didn't really care for it. I prefer them to be a lot more mobility, have a lot more actual articulation, like in proper action figure, instead of like, well, it has these kind of gears and functions. Like, that was a part of the charm, you could say that, but I wasn't crazy for it. So for me, I prefer just how they are now. And I'm not annoyed with the Anika build. Some people are. Some people don't like it. Paraka as well. When I say Anika, I'm going to kind of include Paraka, but I don't want to keep saying Anika and Paraka build. So just the Anika build, a lot of people kind of don't like. Some don't. A lot do and a lot don't. It's kind of like a half and half. I don't know which one who likes more. That's a question I can ask everyone. What build that you all prefer? Do you like the Anika / Paraka build, or do you prefer the old kind of like gear functiony kind of build, kind of like with the Toa Mata and the Toa Metru and those years? Like, what one do you prefer? I already told you mine, so I'd love to hear yours in the comments for that. But anyway, so they are very unique, and I don't think they were based off of any animals like sea creatures. I think they were more have them. I think they were supposed to be, but I feel like they kind of scrapped that and just more made them look more like scuba divers, which that's kind of what I took from it because they have like the tubes and their mask looks more closely to like like scuba gear, and a lot of them kind of evoke that. So I kind of think they're more like scuba divers, and the Baraki are more like obviously like sea creatures. So that's a cool kind of like they still have an underwater theme, but they're not like just okay another brand of sea creatures. They're just scuba divers going into the water, which I can work with that. That's really cool. And yes, they have some of the darker tone and colors for this wave, but some of them are actually got a little color. A couple of them do. And yes, again, we have more of the lime green because they really like the lime green this year, but all of the lime green are really bad. But regardless, it was bright and it was colorful, and I don't mind the execution of it. It's just the actual plastic itself was bad. That's the actual problem. But aside from that, the color schemes were really good for most of them. Now you could argue maybe someone like I don't know Kongu here. He has a little bit of a he's pretty muted in color. He's pretty muted because it's dark green and dark gray, but everyone else is pretty bright colored and some aren't because Huki also is kind of like on the side of I don't really like because again he's not even brown anymore. He's not even tan. He's really like heat orange or warm fiery orange or whatever you want to call it, and just regardless, he's just not really all that well. He doesn't have a great color scheme. I don't really like it, and the build is just abysmal. Unique, yeah, sure, I guess, but not much going for him. A lot of them are good. Most of them are good. It's just a couple of them, not so much. But still, I like what they were doing. I like what they were going for with this. So that makes, obviously, them still better than previous sets of previous years because they're not clone sets. So you don't get one and you have them all. You have to actually get all of them or just get the ones that you particularly like. And that's still perfectly fine. It's just, obviously, some of them won't be picked up as much as the others because, well, the builds are not good and the color schemes are not the greatest. And now it's finally time for the big boys. That's right, it's time to look at the 3 Titans, or I should say 4 Titans, because technically there are 4 Titans in this wave. Karzani, he's of course one of the Titan sets, but he's not a typical one because, he's a special edition and rare one to find, so I kind of have his own thing, but I do include him in this, but not, it's kind of complicated. But the Titans nonetheless. And these Titans are definitely the most unique and interesting Titans that I have seen so far in all of Bionicle. Now, I still like the ones from '06 just a touch more because they're just, for me personally, a bit more iconic and a lot more recognizable, and you see them a lot more often when discussing Titan sets in Bionicle. Now, these are really good ones though, because all of them are really unique, especially like Gadunka and I will even say Karzani to an extent, but the other 2 are kind of your more typical Titans, but for Gadunka and Karzani, they're really good. And I like all of them. There are not too many complaints I can really say about them that will have me sitting here being like, I don't really like them. I don't really like this one because of this. No, they're all really good. I think Hydraxon is probably the worst one out of the bunch because he's just your standard typical Titan that doesn't really offer anything new. He doesn't have any really recolored parts. He doesn't have any new molds except for his mask. Other than that, he doesn't really have anything. I think he has a new blade piece that's recolored. It's Pride Axe blade piece, but regardless, he's still really good. He's a solid build, a solid color scheme, a solid build. All of them have really good color schemes, and it's a solid build. They're all really good. I think Gadunka is probably the most unstable-ish one because of his very unorthodox build, but I really do like it. Back in the day, I did not like it, but nowadays, I most certainly love it. And all the Titans here are really good. Karzani, I think he's good. I think the build is good. I think the recolors are amazing. But what holds him back is really his price point because his build is decent, but it's not the greatest. He's kind of neck and neck with Hydraxon, but I like Karzani a bit more because how unique and rare he is, but his price really makes me kind of reconsider where I place him at because trying to buy a Karzani fully pieced and in good condition is ridiculous. But that's not the main discussion here is just the overall aesthetic of the Titans, and they're all really good. Like, there's no complaints on the aesthetic of the Titans. Not too much. There's a little here and there, like nitpicks, but they're not something that I will consider an actual, like, major issue that make me not like them. It's just small things I wish they'll change and fix or add, but not too much. So the Titans, really good. Probably one of the best ones besides 2006, but they're really good. Okay, now let's get into the special editions. And yes, I include Karzani here because he is part of that special edition, at least for North America, because here in the UK or in European countries, Karzani is not a super rare start off the set. He's kind of pretty readily available. It was just, for some reason, in North America, it was a lot more rare. Same with Lesovic. Lesovic also has that weird same kind of thing going on, but aside from that, the special edition, special quote unquote sets are decent. I like them. I definitely think Nocturne is probably, I won't say he's the best one. No, definitely not, because Karzani in this category would probably still be the best one, but then it'll be Nocturne, then it'll be Lesovic. But it's not to say that I don't like any one of them here. It's just that I think Lesovic is kind of the weakest one because he's literally the most basic build because he's just a Toa. Actually has the Paraka build, but he's just a standard Toa build. And he has lime green joints, by the way. In case you didn't know, he has lime green joints, so he can break at any given point. Now, the one I currently have is pretty fresh out the box. Like, I just opened this about like a month or two ago, so for the review, obviously, and there isn't any notable issues right at this moment. But that's like it's gonna change probably in a couple of months, if not sooner. If I don't touch it or mess with him too much, he'd probably be okay. But again, he's kind of like the weakest one here. He's kind of my least favorite because he has some. I don't think he has any recolors except for the mask he wears, the Faxon. I think that's the only recolor thing he has, but he's decent. Nocturne is really good. I think that he actually has a lot to offer. He has a lot of recolors, a lot of lime green, not joints, but limbs. So he's good. He has not joints. I want to say joints so bad. Lime green limbs. So he is definitely good and a lot of customization and mock building with his parts, along with Karzani. Karzani is also certainly good here because, again, he offers a lot of recolor parts, some that you wouldn't even expect, and I love that. I am always a huge fan. I actually prefer recolors than even new molds because I think recolors are such a cool aspect of Bionicle because it's like I never seen that piece in that color before. It makes me want to create something new and different with it, and the possibilities are essentially limitless. That's why I really like the recolors. I appreciate that more than just a new mold. Like, yeah, it's cool, but I want to recolor of a previous thing that we already have. But all the special sets here are very good. Excellent sets. I recommend anyone get them. Karzani, well, maybe save your money on that. But the rest of them, I definitely say go out and get. Last and certainly least, because I had nowhere else to put this, so I decided to put this at the end, and that is the contraption / vehicle section where we just look at the side builds in two sets. I also going to include Spinax here. I didn't show him at first, but he is here because I also didn't know where to put him. I know he's with Maximus, obviously, but he kind of matches the color scheme, so I just kind of threw him in here because he is kind of a side thing to the set, even though he serves good as his own set, but he's really good. Now, I just want to talk about the contraptions and vehicles. They're not really much of note because they're kind of just cobbled together pieces. Like, again, these are great for mocks because all these blades and weapon pieces, great for mocks. I mean, nothing great for by themselves, of course. I mean, they're just side things, so again, it would feel weird if the sets didn't have them, but at the same time, I don't, at least with Karzani, that contraption thing feels almost unnecessary. It's nice that they included it, but didn't really need it. For Lesovic's vehicle, I mean, it's cool, it's decent. I mean, it's cool when he rides it, but not really noteworthy. But Spinax is amazing. again, he's good enough to be on his own set. He's actually really good. He has a very consistent color scheme, even though it's just silver, gray, and black, but still a good color scheme, and a little bit of red because of his eyes. But again, really good. And there you have it. The overview is now complete. Now I finished and talked about everything I wanted to say. Well, actually, not quite. I did forget to talk about the launchers of the year, which technically there's three, because there is the last year's Zamor Sphere launcher, which was with the two Matorin and the Hyuga, but we already talked about those. The main two I want to talk about is the new ones for the year was the Kodak Blaster and the Squid Launcher, which I don't have any footage for the Kodak Blaster. I have footage for the Squid Launcher, so I'll probably show it somewhere. But unfortunately, the Squid Launcher sucks. And I know that's kind of like not a hot take or controversial to say because the Squid Launcher absolutely sucks. Everyone agrees that those are the worst, absolute worst launchers of all Bionicle because they are terrible, because they have these rubberized, the launcher itself is rubbery. The launcher itself, the squid, is rubbery, and when you try to pull it and try to launch it, it literally almost snaps and breaks if you pull it too hard. And if you don't do it right, then it's not even going to shoot. And if you do get it to shoot, it doesn't go very far. It absolutely sucks. The Kodak Blaster, however, is decent half the time. It's like half and half because it does have a spring in it, so you really can't actually play with it underwater, which kind of defeats the point because they're showing this all underwater. So it will get rusty and it will not work and it will be disgusting. But aside from that, it does work half the time. I mean, like, you can shoot it out. It's pretty consistent. It's just that it seems like sometimes you can't get all 6 rounds out. It'll be like 3 or 2 or 4. It won't be all 6. So give or take how well your Kodak Blaster works, it may or may not work, but you know, it's still good. I prefer it over the Squid Launcher any day. Okay, now think I've discussed everything I wanted to discuss here. So the final rating for all of 2007, I will actually give this year a legendary 10 out of 10. And I know that doesn't mean that this is everything is perfect in this year, because there are some things that are sets I don't like as much, or some things I wouldn't like, because as I mentioned, the Squid Launcher absolutely is terrible. But this year has so many awesome and unique sets and unique ideas that I can't just say I don't like this. This is actually now my favorite year of Bionicle. It was 2006, but after now getting all these sets, I really do like these ones. These are amazing. All of these sets are really good. Some of them, not so much, but for 95% of them are amazing. So I give it actually a 10. So now, I know what everyone is waiting for. Everyone's waiting for how much all this cost me. You are wondering, I know. Okay, so all this cost me. I got all these sets in this same very year of 2024, the time of recording this, of course, and all this cost me was $1,536.24. My goodness, that is a lot. A lot of them was because, well, the Titans were kind of expensive, Karzani mainly, and the Mario was also really expensive. They're really expensive this year to get the Toas, but yeah, this was a very expensive year. This was probably one of the most expensive years. I'm trying to think what was the most expensive year. I think that was 06 that was the most expensive, but regardless, this was a very expensive year. And I'm hoping for 2008 it won't be as bad, considering those sets are a little bit more brittle and people don't like them as much. So hopefully 2008 won't break my wallet as much. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you all have enjoyed this review or overview of this, and join me next time when I go over the Matorin of 08 and starting my run of the 08 sets. So once again, thank you all for watching, and happy holidays to whatever holiday you celebrate, and I will see you all again soon.